We're recording. I'm taking my own word for it at this point.
3, 2, 1. Oh no, I look fat when I sit like this.
There's always, it's the biggest issue with the camera angles. Yeah, you're like,
if you slouch, it's not working. Let me tell you. I've
learned some things with the lighting that we have in the other place. Is like, one, that bench has got to go. I am so uncomfortable in that bench, and it only faces forward. So for me to get a slight even turn, now I'm just like, now I'm miserable. I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I can't.
But you look good.
Here's the other issue. I don't think that that's the case either.
Okay.
we need like 2 big ass chairs of some kind.
Something, but there is a thing like some sort of reclined look. It's like, you just look fat on camera. Yeah, so it's like, now I gotta sit.
So it's like we'd be super comfortable. So
but this is the move. This is the So shift up forward. Put the Z guns.
No, but a couch like this might work better. Yeah.
All right, now I feel better. Is this too much height?
You're already tall enough.
I'm off that
camera. Now you're just trying to make me fucking way small.
Here's the deal. I think I'm off of this camera completely. So that's the whole point. Is now I can just be comfortable. All right, guys. We've been arguing over the setup since this started. And we have Tiago here to chew on the wires instead of the cat. And we are in the Aceves residence.
Yes, sir.
Joining us is Richard, as you may know from before. And then we have Chris from the mentoring program. Chris is here for Apprenticeship Month now. You're on like week 3.5.
Yeah, it's just tomorrow's my last day. Yeah.
Oh shit!
Flying out on Wednesday.
And then he's off.
So
tell us about yourself.
Well, right. Like, so we've been joking about how it's like the worst way to segue, especially someone who doesn't know, hasn't been on the podcast before. Like, no, just explain yourself for a long time. So we're not going to do that. But I will describe a bit of what the thing that Chris has done here this month, because you probably don't know it if you're listening to the radio or to listen to the show or watching. But we have what's called Apprenticeship Month, which is only for people that have done the seminar and Coaches Week or the 6-week online coaches course. And it is 30 days of fucking like intense strong fit. It is?
Yeah, anybody can do it.
Well, it's the mentoring program. Okay,
because they get to do the seminar.
Because the seminar can be in it.
You're right. Coaches Week as they do it. Yep.
Well, Chris had already done all the other shit anyways.
And mentoring program.
So that's why that. Let me rephrase that. Chris has done the mentoring program things, but you too can do Apprenticeship Month without having doing all those things.
Just click.
Yeah.
But a whole month, that is a level of commitment that is, it's rare to like separate from your life. Like we talked about before, the commitment that's required to do Coaches Week in person is a lot. And for those people having been that, you're like, man, that's a lot of, but to uproot and come for a month to have these 2 guys just fucking bust your balls for 30 straight days. Is that what it was?
I think,
kind of.
When it was at Julien's place, for sure. And also Richard gave me a lot of stuff to digest and process on. I think if you're off a month, that is basically the holiday you have for a whole year. Yeah. So that was basically my holiday, my vacation in Amsterdam.
StrongFit
StrongFit vacation in Amsterdam.
Aren't you happy?
That is pretty wild. Tell me about what you hoped to come across
versus what you got.
Like what was your first? What was the thing?
And all I got is this lousy T-shirt.
I hoped for the way to go. No, I wasn't. I mean, I had a pretty good idea. I think because of how long I'm into that StrongFit stuff already.
Yeah.
The mentoring program is there is a structure, but there's not.
Yeah. It's kind of on you to navigate your way, to do the work.
Exactly. And I expected kind of that same approach, which was what happened.
Yeah. So you came here thinking it was going to be a little fast and loose. And I think the first day here, you get here, I came in here, I think that was your very first morning when I came here.
Yeah.
And then you got your bike seat stolen before you even got to the gym. Is that?
I borrowed a bike from a friend, and he works. He's a bike how you call it, bike mechanic.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty good bike, and he gave me like 2 locks.
Not for the seat though.
Yeah.
Not for like for the front tire and like for the bike to lock it against something,
Yeah.
lock it onto something. And then the first morning I wanted to go to the gym. I was unlocking it and didn't even realize that the seat was gone.
Yeah.
So I wanted to sit down. And at a certain point,
That's when you were like,
I think now
wait.
there should be a seat now, but it was gone. So I was like going to the.
There's a whole other way that could go that's way different.
Exactly.
You know,
Whoa.
like, I
We
feel
barely
like
know
I'm
each
sitting,
other.
I'm sitting on the
Was
tire.
the pole of the bike still there that you sat on? Or
exactly,
like,
right.
Like it wasn't. It wasn't the pole. It was just there should be a seat now.
Yeah.
And I was like, So pushed it back to or rode
Famous
it back.
last word.
That's the man that stops putting his weight on his foot before he steps on the leg.
exactly.
That's good
exactly.
timing.
That's a very valuable lesson. Keep the weight on the ball of the feet.
Exactly.
Well, I want
Always.
to know what, where exactly did they, over the course of a month of doing like real work, beyond fitness, coaching, movement, learning, everything, right? At some points in there, you're challenged to the point where you got to be like, man, fuck this, fuck these guys, this is fucking hard. Was there ever a point where during all of this, where like, what was your biggest challenge like throughout this thing? What's the word? Unforeseen challenge. Because you knew you were going to be training hard. You knew there was going to be a bunch of that shit. But what was the thing that caught you off guard?
I think it was the second time I was at your place, and you just flooded me with all the lactate stuff.
You
and I was
asked a
like,
question?
okay, fuck. I think that was the main thing.
Yeah.
That really like caught me off guard.
Yeah.
So it's like I was just sitting there and like nodding, trying to process as much as possible.
Yeah.
But like, how many or how long have you studied that stuff before you basically poured it over me, right? So
2 months?
You've been
that was
tarred
like
and
a
feathered, yeah.
lactate tsunami.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I give you the easy version.
still a lot. Still
And
quite-
let's maybe talk a little bit about training too. So out at the gym, new gym setup. How is the training side of this
setting
stuff
up
gone?
the new gym.
Yeah. Well, because you've had the setup is kind of a little bit of we'll call it classroom time, but some kind of one-to-one time, some specific stuff,
Yeah.
and then the rest of the day it's kind of like, okay, here's what you should focus on to train. Go do your thing.
Yeah, so the first half of the month was basically conversations in the morning, either with you or with coach. And then I went to the gym and then we trained, or I did stuff on myself,
Yeah.
on my own. The training lately has been, like in this month,
Yeah.
has been very good. Like because I was able to get intensity back and like fight through the training sessions, fight through the exercises.
Was that becoming an issue before? coming in?
Absolutely, yeah.
Tell me about
And
that.
I mean, first Corona,
Yeah.
right?
We do not say that word, otherwise we have our videos pulled.
Corona beer, sponsored by Corona beers.
The disease, that sounds like a beer.
I mean, I was not really able to use the gym setup that I used before.
Yeah.
Plus you train on your own, right?
Yeah, I'm
It's a lot
training on my own.
harder.
Yeah, so maintaining high intensity when you really train on your own, I
So-
think
so already hard, yeah.
that catches up with a lot of coaches.
Yeah.
We were also talking about that.
There's no way. There's no way you train at high intensity continuously on your own.
Yeah,
Like people say it, but no.
There's very few out there, and someone always point to some sort of outlier, some absolute freak of nature who's like one of the best in the world. He trains by himself. It's like, yeah. And
you're not
what
him,
about
first of all,
the
yeah.
other 99 of the top
Yeah.
100?
Yeah, plus even that guy usually he has
There's somebody.
someone you just don't know about. Or,
and I think it's not 100% of the time that you train alone.
Yeah.
Can we talk about your bench press though?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah, the build up. I'm very proud of it.
Where was it? So had intensity just kind of slowly skidded down after a while, or what?
That's also why I spread the lactate on him on the second day. It was the same idea. I was like, all right, there's a way of thinking, there's a way of training. And if you don't have someone going, okay,
Yeah.
then it stops.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there is something to be said for that too, where you have to just be completely immersed in it, in the information, in the learning process. Coming and staying somewhere for a month, I don't think I've ever done that anywhere under any circumstances.
I mean,
not just for learning, not even for holiday.
Very little distractions.
Yeah.
Right. So you can focus.
Yeah.
So
you're not like getting up, going to work. You're not. Yeah.
Because
So
it takes a while to get even the thought process going. When you go from business, running a business, all the stuff that goes with it, dealing with clients, all that stuff, to like, all right, I need to make progress. First week is rough.
Yeah. You usually, if like I'm a physiotherapist and work in my practice, and you have a lot of like the daily business you need to go after.
Yeah.
And that's besides the clients you coach or the people you take care of.
Yeah.
And then after a long day, I mean, I have weights in my practice and all that, but you don't want to be there anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like easier to say, okay, let's call it a day, go home.
Yeah.
I think that taking that away helped a lot.
Well, and I don't think these two were, I think I remember it was one of the first sessions there, Julien very quickly was like, you were warming up, and Julian's like, no.
Yeah, that was the first set.
Yeah, so tell me about that, Julien.
Well, I'm watching him do 12 sets of farmer's walk.
Yeah.
So he starts with no weight, and then he's going 5 pounds at a time. So at some point I'm like, okay, he will still be using more weight than you are. So I'm like, plus I know when I said it, not that far off. I could tell he was going up, but the way he was setting up was going to be simple, which means he was trying to get confidence at the next weight. Mm-hmm. So that's, first of all, that means there's a lack of confidence toward his back. Yeah. You can tell right away by the way he's training. Yeah. And you can tell he likes farmer's walk. That's why he's going to do 16 sets or 20 sets total. And then after that, he was going to gravitate toward, let me find movement and do some non-stressful type of exercise. Yeah. So that's a way to not challenging yourself. Yeah. So I know he likes farmer's walk. I could tell by the way he was going at it. So it's always the same setup. We all do that. Yeah. Like especially when you're on your own and there's no one to go, dude, stop. Mm-hmm. Like you need to do this as well and everything. You always end up like this, which means you find the exercises you're good at and you do more and more sets so that you don't have to do sets of stuff you don't like to do. Yeah. Right. And after that, you focus on movement. It's like the CrossFit coach who end up focusing on Olympic weightlifting. Yeah. Then from there, he focuses on movement. Then from there, he focuses on coaching. Yeah. Which means, you don't do shit anymore. At some point, you need to realize that's what you're doing. You're not focusing on coaching or movement. You just quit. That's it. And so the way he was training, I was like, all right, I know where this goes. So by set 8, I was like, all right,
move on.
You're done. Go do something else. And then, so go chase something, but not just with a lack of stressing yourself either. Like don't just do this. Like put some weight. Because right now you're training. So give me 2 sets of each. Hit it really hard and then move on. Yeah. Like, just train.
First session was all over the place for me. Like I went in not with a plan, not knowing what.
Which was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was good because then right away I was like, all right, that's where you are mentally. Okay, so now I know where we need to go.
Yeah.
And then from there.
Yeah.
And
then it became heavy, consistently heavy.
Every day.
You're working with Rich pretty regularly on some of the training concepts and stuff, which is
which are very simple, I think.
Fairly simple. Tell me kind of what you kind of guided him towards or with.
I think the first thing is, talking with him, being all over the place was let's set constraints of how you're going to start every single time you walk in the gym. Yeah. So we set up the same warm up, and every single day you walk into the gym, and I don't care if you feel it, you don't feel it, you fucking do the warm up. That's it. Simple. Do the warm up, and then we can talk later, because at least it gets the blood flowing, start getting you in the right mindset. So.
That sounds like something a guy who takes the train to the gym comes up with.
Listen, bro.
Because I'm all get to the gym and I'm like, I need about 30 minutes.
If it's going to be raining, guy.
No, I do the same thing because the main thing I get out of that is want versus need.
Yeah.
Because it's like you need to work the biceps. I don't care if you like it
it
or not. I don't care if you dislike it. You're sore from yesterday. I don't give a shit. You need to get the biceps. And is that always the best idea to do it every time? Probably not, but that's not the point. The point is You're going to tell that muscle to work, whether you like it or not. And so at first, there's that same idea of doing 16 sets. You start too light, or what you're doing is just avoiding work. That's all. You're avoiding intensity, you're avoiding the stress. Yeah. Right? That's just a defense mechanism. I get it, but it's not a good one. I mean, it's not a productive one. So I was like, all right, so the warm-up is this, because that's what you need. And I don't care, that's what you do every single time. Yeah. And it's 20 minutes every day. When I go to the gym, I do the same shit. Because, if you don't do it two in a row, you're like, and then a week later.
And then you start going back to the same thing of coming in and doing what you're kind of comfortable with, but you can get away with and say, I was at the gym. It's like, were you really at the gym? You were fucking around at the gym. You weren't at the gym. Mm-hmm. So the warm up for me was the first constraint. It was like, the first thing we talked about was like, okay, so what is it that you're going to want to work on this month? I don't care, give me something. And he's like, well, I've been having issues with my shoulders and pecs. I was like, cool, let's go for pecs, my favorite muscle.
Mm-hmm. I said I want to go for pecs, and you asked strength or size. And I was like, yes.
Yeah. And so my answer was very simple.
That's always the answer.
I just said, you just need more volume that's heavy. And that's all you do is heavy
there you
volume.
go.
Heavy
Problem
volume.
fixed.
Heavy volume gets it. And
heavy
so
stuff and lots of it.
It's great watching the progress in 1 month, just watching him go through. Like the first day was like the warm up every day was so it's a Kai Green. I stole that from Kai Green. #Kai Green. Kai Green, if you hear this, contact us. It'd be kind of cool. You never know if you don't ask for a shout out.
Yeah, exactly.
But I stole it from his books because they're so good the way he explains the philosophy. But it's 3 rounds of 30 crunches, 30 side crunches each side, 30 leg lifts. Mm-hmm. And the first thing that he's going so slow, I'm like, you got to pick up the intensity. Like, come on, dude.
Yeah, and pick up the pace. Work like you mean it. No?
Yeah. Then isometric sandbag holds, sandbag floor press, 3 sets of 15, right?
Yeah.
And he started failing. Like the first day, he's like, I'm not feeling my pecs. I was like, that's not the point. Right now, that's not the point. The point is, give me 15 sandbag presses, floor presses every single day, and you'll start seeing the difference. Yeah. And so from there, we just kind of ramped it up.
Something to be said about that, by the way. Doing 1 set of something you're not good at every day.
Yeah.
Just that alone, you make so much progress.
It allows to build the skill, right?
1,000 good reps.
Well, there was an interesting thing I was reading on. Julien had made, I asked a question on neuroplasticity a while ago on the podcast, and I realized I didn't know anything about it. So I stole one of his books and started reading about it. And one of the things that was interesting, they were reading like patterns in the brain, right? Yeah. And so they could go through and they could correlate exactly which spots were for the pinky finger, the ring finger, this finger and that finger, right? And then they would go through, and I don't remember if they did this to monkeys, I think in this test, or if they were just retroactively testing on humans, I don't remember. But they would go through, and if somebody had a finger amputated, what would happen is the space that was normally allocated in the brain for that finger starts to be taken over by more resources, if you will, for the others. And so it's very interesting that if something is non-stimulated or not used from a muscle or anything like that, like you don't have even the pathways necessary to do lots of work or to do hardly anything.
You know what's funny? It works the other way too. If the part of your brain gets hit by a nail and you lose this, you'll find a way to get that back. It's called a brain. It's a degenerative system, which means it's about the task, not where it starts. So the brain will find other ways to make this work, regardless, even if it's not from the same part of the brain. Yeah. So it's very interesting.
Yeah, and I think the instance specifically I was looking in was into the gray matter. But I thought that was really cool because one of the things I always recommend for people with anything like that, if some people can't find their pecs, we'll just do a lot of it. Yeah. You because you're not going to bench press.
Do the songs.
Well, you're not going to bench press with a barbell if you can't use your pecs. You're bench pressing with a barbell is not going to work your fucking pecs, and you can't really do that every day. But find something that actually works the muscle that doesn't work, and just use the shit out of it.
That's why we do the songs so much. Because do the songs, you'll feel your pecs. After a while, Jesus Christ. It's triceps and pecs. That's all I feel like when I do them. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And so, speaking of that bench press, so take us to the bench press. We want to know because we
started building some pecs. Things started moving along. I got some
Where did you start on the bench press at the beginning of the month?
Started with 105 for 2.5 reps.
I mean,
I think Richard, they call it.
I was being nice at the time. It was more like 1 3/4, and I basically curled / deadlifted the last few.
God, you're gonna let him? You're gonna do him like that on the podcast?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, come on.
No mercy. That's what you come here for.
So we were benching what, twice a week?
I mean, I did sandbag floor press almost every day.
Yeah.
Then when we did the sleds and stuff, there was pecs involved. A
every
lot of
single day.
like
I like
pec sticks.
stick. I like
stick,
those things. Man, that's a good exercise.
Yeah.
The sled push.
Yeah.
And then we were
sled
training
press.
at least
Sled press.
at
I like
least
it. Hashtag.
yeah, at least once
a
more.
week. And what did you hit
for
today
bench.
on the bench press?
120 for 2 reps.
Yeah.
2 reps.
Solid 2 reps.
done.
Yeah, I know. I saw that.
Under tension, everything. You're like
15 kilos.
fucking A, 15 kilos in a month.
15 kilos in a month.
With four bench sessions.
That's okay.
I mean, floor press every day and all the
Yeah.
accessory work and strongman, but it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
that's
it's
huge.
and all the progress on the yoke carries.
Well,
and
that's
sandbag
so.
and
The thing that I noticed a lot of was there was an immense struggle with the overhead yoke in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That then you could start to see you were then really upset overhead pressing.
Wait, because he was doing so good on everything else.
Everything, because things were fine. Yeah, so you get this thing, you're like, man, fuck this thing. But I think it was interesting to see that evolve alone, because even at the end, I didn't even see the bench progress necessarily.
No,
but we
but
could
that's what I
see
saw.
some of the overhead.
That's what I saw right away with him. I saw stuff he was really good at
Yeah.
and stuff that were way too far behind.
Yeah.
I was like, aha,
Yeah.
there's the issue. You do what you like to do, and
Yeah.
that's it. Because he killed the sandbag carries and he killed the farmers.
Yeah.
And then we got to the yoke, and I stopped moving, and then overhead carry just couldn't.
Yoke was fine, but overhead yoke was like
It was a nightmare. But he couldn't do the dumbbell.
the circus dumbbell. Yeah.
The circus dumbbell. But he has a good press. So those are the stuff where you start to hurt and kill yourself and stuff like that. So that's what I look is like if you excel at one, but there's one where you're really behind that. Usually this is where you're gonna break. That's what the problem is.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of that. It's well, let's see where you hid.
Yeah.
Where someone did not push the button, put the finger and go like, you suck at this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's an interesting thing to be said about coaching that we've mentioned before. Is like, I don't have any coach that I ever respected ever who coached me in any sport who I wasn't like, I'm not mad at the coaches I respect the most. I was fucking like really mad at a few times a week. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that may be in a moment of I need more of this out of you, or a moment of being called out, or whatever it was, or simply me being just mad,
Yeah.
But a lot of those things, like a coach being very hard on you, is a thing that I think is lost in adult fitness now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in
Everybody's
regular coaching in a
it's all
CrossFit gym,
modeling
nobody's
and
fucking
cheerleading,
like holding you accountable for your shit.
But that's no. The
and I
key
think
is that
that's an
is-
interesting process
The
in a
key is
month.
that is accountable. When they're rough on you, they're rough on you on like do one more rep, go get hurt.
Yeah, that's
They
a
rough on
different,
you
that's
like
a
well, it's
different
your
thing.
problem.
That's a different thing.
Like you got hurt, that's you, right?
Yeah.
No one. So there is that type of roughness, which is a fake roughness.
Yeah.
The real roughness is talking and holding them accountable to stuff they didn't do, because that no one wants to hear.
Yeah.
No one wants to hear that one. So the whole like 2 more reps is actually posturing.
Yeah, it's a very different
It's an
thing.
ego trip on the part of the coach.
Yeah.
A real coach is like, all right, you did not do this and this and this, and guess what?
Well, and
you
I
got
think,
lazy.
I think to reflect on the instance with the farmer's carry in the beginning, that's a coaching moment in the very beginning where it's like, no. I know what you're fucking doing, and
Yes.
it's not what you
And
need to be
I'm not
doing.
gonna
You need
let
to
you
be
do
doing
that.
this. I
That
know
was-
that this is a...
That was one of the most important things, like you mentioned before, like the want versus need.
Yeah.
Is that counts for every
For everything. Yeah.
every part of your life basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that's reading or if that's training, you don't really want to.
But that's why the lactate, because I knew what his brain was going to be. And I was like, yeah, but that's what it takes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. Like, that's what it takes. You're going to have to study the shit. You're going to have to be uncomfortable and swim in it and go, okay, I can grow out of this.
Yeah.
But so that, to me, coaching is the want versus need. So like the whole, like, let's do 2 more reps, that it's not that.
Yeah, that's a different thing.
It's telling your athletes, okay, stop. You're great at that one. That's great. You really suck at this. Well, guess what? We need to.
Well, I think
that's not enjoyable.
And I think coaching, like being rough, demanding things like integrity and effort and character and discipline and all of those things are much more useful than being like go harder and faster for a little bit.
Integrity is a number one. It's like, are you doing it or not?
Yeah.
And the only person who can answer is you, by the way. Because you can always fake it. It's not that hard, right? If, you make the face and everything, it's not that hard. But that extra rep, whether you did it or not, you know what I mean? Like, that's the stuff, if I could coach, is that where you know if you lost to the sled or not. Like, because I was talking to someone, they were like, what do you mean? I'm like, did you lose to the sled or did you draw or did you win?
Yeah.
Like, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, when you push a sled, you know if you lost or if you won.
I used to tell in my pre-sled sprint speech, that was the thing was it's going to be in the end of this, because we talked about the West scales, is that this isn't going, this sled sprint, this 100 meter, 200 meter sled sprint, you shouldn't wake up in the morning sore. Your body's not going to go, that was dumb. So in the morning, you're going to have to wake up for sure and look yourself in the eye, feeling no physical discomfort from this thing, and go, fuck, I could have gone harder. And that is part of it, though, is getting that fucking little jab is, I think, the reason
that's the only
that you're
reason
able
I push
to go
now
harder.
is because I don't want to be home 2 hours after and go,
fuck. Yeah.
I could have gone.
Because that ruins my days after that. Yeah.
I think a problem is if you, as a coach, are not able to push yourself in the things you suck at, how would you do that to other people? Like, how would you do that to the people you train?
Yeah.
Right?
You'll be a bit nicer or a bit more accommodating. I don't want to do this. Are you okay?
But that's not the same.
Exactly.
It's not the same. It's not what helps your people developing.
Yeah.
Right.
So
You
if you don't do that as a coach, like if you don't train hard and on your weaknesses as a coach, then I don't think that you're able
if
to.
you find excuses for yourself, you'll find excuses for your clients.
Yeah.
Like there's no other way on that one. But it's mentally and physically. It was like, all right, we had him for a month. Okay, well, there's a grinder.
Yeah.
And then I remember, because by week 2, he was like, well, the training's starting to get to me, that's for sure.
There was some of that. I think week 2 or 3, you were like,
I'm beat up
you're
shit
like,
right now. Yeah.
Start to come in a little rough.
Yeah.
That was a training session where we did yoke carries.
Oh, yeah.
And I kind of tried to.
We went up very quickly.
I tried to keep up somewhat.
Yep.
So my mid-back was just.
Because I think we were at like 280 kilos in like 2 sets.
Yeah, I'm not wasting time.
Yeah.
On it.
Well, plus that wasn't the first exercise we did either. So.
No, that was the last one actually.
But I remember Chris was sitting there going, guys, that's a lot. Like, can you? But it was a funny progression. Seeing from the beginning where he wanted to. Slow it down.
Sandbag.
But that's not even sandbag. I know that feeling. You want to, like Julien said, you want to do this weight and have it feel good, and then do the next weight and have it feel good.
A little bit higher.
But then at some point, you never take that leap to the weight that is fucking awful, and then you're never actually training.
It is awful when it's anything past 600 pounds is awful. I don't care. Like, but that's also the point. That's why we do the yoke carries after the sled, after all the shit before, because that's when it breaks you mentally, and you're like, all right. So who's going to win? The yoke or you? Yeah. But you have to be able to go under the weight going, it's going to feel awful, and I'm still going to carry it.
Yeah. Did you have any big like Mount Everest moments in training this month?
Mount Everest moments? Like, you mean
where
like
you were like, it was a
epiphanies?
big moment, a big epiphany, a big thing? I should have prepared him for this. I didn't. It's not
like,
no,
it's
asking
fine.
big questions.
He's like, I didn't go hiking. No, it's flat. We're in the Netherlands. I've not seen
We're in the Netherlands.
Mostly
What are you talking about?
below flat.
The
Germans are very true too. So,
I think one moment that stood out to me was when I was at the gym on my own and I did the ET EMOM, like you told me.
That one.
Describe that one.
It's basically you pick 3 external torque exercises and you go for 8 to 12 repetitions, something like that, with a weight you can manage, but it should feel hard, and you should be able to go into a fight. So
it was okay. Let me explain. No, you should not be able. Yeah, that's the whole point, is to get into a fight. So that's something I did. I was at the gym one day and I chose like that pitch arc that we have, some yet rows and some just push press, but off the chest. And I was looking after a very specific thing. brain network and shit. And I was like, all right, if I do this and this and this way, I should basically blow a casket mentally. So I was like, all right, well, let's see if I'm right. And so I start to do the stuff, and it's basically on the minute you do 15 reps of this and then you move on, right? And at some point I blew that casket, and then I kind of woke up doing that shit for 2 hours plus. Then I move into different stuff and everything, but I'm literally 2.5 hours, and after I'm like, I gotta stop. I'm gonna hurt myself if I continue. And I just lost it. I was like, okay, stop. And so I went home, didn't sleep for 3 days. But I activated something I was looking for, and that's the high I got. It's like Super Saiyan high. I mean, it was crazy. And I was like, all right, that seems to be working. So it's a setup that we have when fighting the fight. You know, when you do 8 reps and you knew you had 9, but you just can't find it. I was like, all right, right. So that kind of intensity, or, you know, on the sled, you stop, you didn't have to. But you stopped anyway, so that's losing to the sled. I was like, all right. So we had a conversation, and he was like, how do I find it? I was like, all right, well, I got something. So by yourself in the gym, close everything, just you, do the imam, and then some questions will pop up.
I think
then you answer the way you want.
I think it was almost 90 minute, every minute on a minute.
Sometimes it takes a while,
Like the last, I think, 2 rounds was just, okay, let's spend all the energy I have left.
Finally.
Because that was the only way you were getting out of that.
And I was screaming and yelling and whatnot, and I felt that this made me more energetic.
But those were the constraints. The constraint was like it's not about doing the reps. I don't care. It's like until you find that stage where the questions are popping up, you hit the wall, you're not allowed to stop. So, and then you answer the question. Yeah.
And then my why I train popped up. So that was pretty cool to see. Yeah. Like if you spend that much time in the gym on your own, like that's only with those 3 exercises and fighting against them, basically, you start to ask yourself questions, and sooner or later you come up with the answer. Yeah. And that was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, he'll ask you the question.
Do you want to share the answer to your question?
My why I train was never really too honest. I was always this, I want to experiment and help people and blah, blah, which is good, don't get me wrong, but...
it's part of it.
Yeah. But at the end, there was this sentence in my head, which was, I want to be the master of myself. Like, and that resonated with me a lot. And I was like, that's it.
Good goal.
Yeah. How early in the month was that?
Was
I think it was
second week at least.
Yeah, second week. Yeah.
You didn't just want to mic drop and be like, all right, we're good. I don't want to be doing any more work. Had some cool stuff.
Exactly. I got an answer. Bye, guys.
But it was cool to see how that phrase, because I repeated it when I did sandbag carries, for example, or sled push, or also on the bench. Like in German, it's 5 words.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
And I was basically with every breath, I was just repeating 1 word at a time. Yeah. And that gave me energy to push more. Yeah. That was pretty cool to see.
Yeah, it becomes a mantra.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Those are very powerful. Actually. Yeah. They work really well. Yeah.
And then like the one session where the sled just wouldn't move.
That was fun.
Okay, so I want to preface this one because we come off sounding not too cool in this one. So we did in our credit,
you got angry.
We did all the sleds that same, like the time before. Were you not there? Maybe it was the first time you were there. What was the situation? We had done the sleds, but he wasn't there.
No, well, we did the sled.
We did it, but we were inside.
Oh, we were different. We had a bigger group, so we were with a different group or something the time before. So they were inside and outside. But anyways, we had done it on the same surface outside once in this area. And it was rough. It's like, it's brick and it's like kind of abrasive. It's like sandpaper Legos.
It's like put sandpaper and super glue on the fucking sled and drag it.
And then also putting gravel on it because it jumps and stuff.
So it goes smooth, stops.
But now, we knew it was a rough surface. We even joked it was like a really fun version of odd object training because the odd object is literally the whole earth that you're dragging the fucking thing across. Yeah. But it wasn't unmanageable. And we had put weight in it. Chris isn't quite as big as I am, but like it wasn't like there was like some weight less, not a lot, but like we were going.
Doesn't look
ways.
bad. Yeah.
But he gets going, and let me rephrase that. He doesn't get going. He tries.
Like the thing did not
nothing moves but my feet.
Yeah.
And at some point, I was like, I don't know, maybe this guy's just really weak.
But we weren't even,
You know?
we were just
Is he
going
struggling?
off.
Well, I kept it quiet, and you guys, you guys weren't even ball busting though. You were like, you were having your hard ass moments though, where you're like, fucking go,
I gotta
just
train
fucking
next.
go.
No,
Come on,
this
Jesus
is my
Christ.
training session. I have to train next, so fucking move.
Are you gonna fucking try or not? All this shit.
Well, yeah.
And we pulled some weight off.
Okay, if you come, because that's for all of you. If you ever come to train with us, I'm training. I'm not there to coach you.
For sure.
So if you get in the way of my training session, I'm gonna fucking ride you really hard.
Yeah.
Like
So-
move.
So
Move, bitch. Get out of the way,
so
bitch. He's doing the
he's
speed
basically
limit. Get the fuck out of the way.
he's basically stuck on the tracks now, and the Julien train is fucking coming, and like.
And
so,
the Richard train as well.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because at this stage, like no one is training. I mean,
And so we pull some weight off, and he gets moving, and it is like just slogging through it, sticking, and just violently and he stuck through it many breaks. It had to be. I don't even want to speculate on how long or how miserable it was. You could tell me the level of misery.
I was suffering.
Are you like mad
it had
at
to be
us?
at least 90 seconds.
I think he was mad at everything.
There's
You
this
can be mad.
selfish brain theory thing where you are mad at others and then mad at yourself. I was at that
And
point.
then the sled moved though. He did learn the lesson.
It did.
No,
A
kind of.
valuable one, because when we tried, the sled didn't move either.
Yeah. So that was the issue. I
Which
really
was kind of a relief, to be honest.
Exactly, yeah. Because that guy was like, fuck it, like, let me try. Oh, fuck, it's not moving.
Well, so then we have the conundrum where we're stuck to where what we have to do is either work really hard and make this move, and also probably
take weight
easier
off,
than he did.
Yeah. Well, yeah, at least.
Yeah.
If
For
you're
sure,
gonna talk that much
like
shit,
that's the baseline. That's how we get
Exactly.
away with it without. That's neutral. That's not even well.
if you're going to talk that much shit, you better make it look easier.
And the moment
It
we
did not.
decide we have to pull the weight off, we all have to go. Hey, so we're sorry.
No.
Well, of course we did.
No, we said good job.
We did.
Yeah, exactly.
I was saying to Richard, I'm kind of relieved now.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, yeah, okay, fine.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well, we got the sled. We got carpet in the meantime, so now we don't have to worry about that stuff outside.
It's so good.
You also got to see like the see and assist in the setup of the new gym too, which was pretty wild.
Mm-hmm. But by the way, to go back to the sled, that was a valuable lesson though, because also understanding that you're not always supposed to win every session.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you're gonna like it, but no, you win the session, but maybe not that part. You know, like the sled sprint can get ugly. You know, like you stop 6 times because you're on the rough part and there's gravel. And you know, it's ugly, it's messy. It doesn't have to be like perfect and smooth and Instagram-like all the time. Right?
I think part of the process is being able to leave the gym and you should be frustrated in some way or another at the end. Not in the whole process.
Yaya train?
Yeah, there should be that. There should be something where next time you go, like, I need to be better. It needs to be whatever it is. There should be a moment. Otherwise, I don't think you're pushing yourself hard enough, right?
To the degree where I'm starting to think, I've been thinking about that for a while, that there should be always, maybe not an exercise, but a set where you fail.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Where, you know, like that one time on the sled, I remember?
Yeah.
Like, we did the heavy yoke carry, and then I go outside and I push the sled and I stop 3 times and I come back and I stop, I don't know, 4 or 5 times at least. And when I finished that set, I was like, I just lost.
Yeah.
And that got me so angry.
Well, that was an interesting incident too, because that was all of us had done heavy yokes before the sled.
Yeah.
Not feeling great
and
at the end of a long, heavy session.
That sled.
And we all were going under the impression that this was one sled sprint.
Yeah.
And I think Richard died. I had not the great sled sprint. Mine was probably similar to Julien's at that moment. And then I was still like, fuck it, I'm done. And I hear Julien just fucking bitching under his breath. Like, I'm fucking
again.
When Richard gets done, like he's
But
fucking
I mean, I died on that one.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
I was.
I did not care.
so by
I was
the
like,
time
I'm not
Richard
losing.
gets done, Julien's like, we're going again. And Richard's over there like, no, I'm not. Because he was not. But the problem was Julien then goes and basically does it without stopping there and
I
back.
was so angry.
And then I'm like, motherfucker.
Yeah.
So then I had to go. And I will say this is
stop
to
either.
the value of training partner is there's no fucking way that I do that the second time.
Yes.
There's no way that me by myself that I wish it was the case. And maybe sometime it would be, but there's no way on that day. There's no way on that day that I go out and have a sled sprint that went like that first one that I do anything other than pack it up and put it back in the fucking.
And you didn't stop on the second.
And didn't stop. And that was the other thing is that it was almost 2 weeks. It was almost like I should have gone further. I mean, I died, but like there's still like I didn't have to stop.
That shows you the difference.
Two very different things on two almost identical circumstances.
But there was the transition yoke to sled. By the way, that does something to your legs that should be trained.
Right.
By people going like, heavy and too fast. Oh.
Like we also have to that's like the greatness of us training together because for me statically, like if we're gonna do another like EMOM like on the static stuff like the clean and jerks, I'm like Julien, we should do it again and go heavier. He's like, fuck you, no. He's like, okay. But on the sleds, like. I'd like just give me one set. That's it, coach. And then I'm dying for like 10 minutes. And everything. He's like, we should do another set. I was like, no, we should not.
And I'm like, come on. Yeah, it's a specific type of. But that's the thing too. It's exactly that. There's a type of pain. Like he likes the pain during. I fucking hate it. So he does EMOM forever. But that dying in between, that's when the fun is. Because now I'm like, you want to make me quit? Okay, let's do this again then. Like when the sleds start to talk to you, say. You're my bitch now. I'm like, oh really? Yeah. That's when I'm like, all right. Like, it's like when you're in Amsterdam and then you go on the bicycle and the wind hits you and it's raining, and that's when I start laughing because it's literally nature saying fuck off. Like, poof, you know what I mean? And I'm like, all right, someone is losing and it's not me. Yeah. And so like I love riding the bike when it's like that because I'm like, I'm not quitting. Like you will not make me stop. And that's exactly what that mentality on the sled, but I don't have it on the static stuff. So when Richard starts pushing, I'm like, fuck. And so, but that also requires, it takes a long time to get.
I think training with other people is a very interesting dynamic. I think it's rough, almost required. In my opinion.
Yeah, I believe so.
Or at the very least, I think your progress is always going to be limited. But one of the pieces of advice I was given a long time ago was like, if you're having trouble, like issues generally just with training, with your training, whatever, getting a training partner will help kind of. You know what I mean? It can help with push, with intensity. But one of the things I was told is try being a better training partner, and very often your training picks up. Because the moment you're willing to basically do that, volunteer this one other set that you wouldn't do, that all of a sudden now that pushes the group, and then that's going to start come back in your way, and back your way. And I think becoming a good training partner is a really, really good skill.
Even if they start to add too much volume, you're like, you're fucking sandbagging the rest of it to make this all look bad. And that's bullshit.
And by the way, when you go really hard on that one set, you just cannot do the second one. Like there's some days where I was like, I just can't do it. Like that second one, but like that's when I draw with the sled, but I didn't lose. I mean, so like that's when you start to know that stuff. But that was my constraints for him. Me from the beginning, when I saw the way he trained, I was like, all right. So by the end of the month, if there's one thing I want, is the capacity to go dig. As long as you have that, it was a good month. I mean, like I was like, as long as I get that one, mentally too. Like I also wanted him to understand that he has to go. And I get it. At the end of the day, you have practice, you have to train, you're fucking done. But that's not enough. You also have to get better knowledge-wise so that you know more. But those are hard constraints. Like people don't understand what you have clients all day and all that shit. And so you have to start. Yeah, like if you don't do it first and then you have a client and then you have to train, man, at the end of the day. And that's when your girlfriend is like, hey, let's do something. And you're like, oh. But it's so easy to let go of that. I mean, to not have that push, that fucking fire under your ass. And so I think that's me. I was like, all right, I know exactly where I want him to be at the end. And it wasn't necessarily more knowledge in that sense. It's just that when he leaves, he came here and he lives there. And then, all right, and now you have to maintain and do all that stuff. That was the key. It was obvious that's what he needed the most. I mean, don't get me wrong, the break also made it hard. Made it harder, like not being, like with all the fucking COVID stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
COVID. I don't know what doesn't get the algorithm going.
We'll be flagged for all of our other views at some point for our stance. Sure. Our stance on the Epstein thing. Eventually, their whole thing's gonna be. I got backups though, YouTube. So
yeah, exactly. Fuck you. We'll go on Spotify. Fuck you. But yeah, that's why those sleds, that was important because you got so angry at it. And I do believe it's important sometimes that the sled doesn't move or barely moves. Like it's good. I mean, like you should fail into those things once in a while.
Now there's other perks to being around for a month. And some of that is the StrongFit life. a little bit.
Yeah.
And there's some pretty cool advantages.
Some good moments.
There's some really cool moments we had here between one, the red light district being.
Wait. Is your girlfriend watching the podcast?
I don't know.
Well, hold on.
Okay, we're fine.
Don't do this to him when as soon as I say when the red light district, and then interrupt and be like,
I mean, I hope
that's not
so.
where I was going.
I hope so.
But what I meant is the red light district has been almost basically completely devoid of tourism for this whole time until the last
very
week
nice.
or so.
Yeah.
And so we've talked before, it's such a unique opportunity to be able to just chill like right out here.
And devoid of sex workers as well, just so you understand.
They're not working offline.
Yes, exactly.
But we had some cool. It was cool. We were able to
Don't
sit
go on
out
Tinder
here
right now. It's not a good idea.
to sit out here and have cocktails here on the canal from the You went to the malt vault in Utrecht. You got to go to the malt vault.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
We better.
Yeah.
And then we had the boat trip.
The boat tour was epic.
You were on both boat trips too. Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah, that's pretty.
You got to jump off a bridge, probably way too high, certainly illegal.
It was only 8 meters.
Was it?
No.
Yeah. Yes, it was.
Was it only 8?
It was only 8 meters, guys.
That was not.
What do you mean only?
I was telling you.
Wait a minute, no, that's still pretty high. No, that's still
8
pretty
meters
high.
is high.
It's almost 30 feet.
Anything past 5 is high.
No, come on.
No, I'm not saying I wouldn't do higher. I would do tomorrow to do higher. As long as I jump in water, I'm fine.
I'll show you the guy that just did 38 meters. Looks awesome.
Yes, I wouldn't mind jumping off. I'll do the 15 because I don't get scared of that particular height. But 8 meters is still high, dude. You didn't get like anything weird? Oh, I hit my nipples so hard they went like this. You know, like the water. Oh, the water went. Bah! I was like, oh. The next morning I felt it.
I mean, he did like a cannonball thing. I'm like, I don't know how you didn't get water up your butt.
Dude, I felt it like here.
You have the first video still, right?
I think so.
The first jump. I think the first jump was even like it was at least more painful.
Yeah, the big slap.
8 meters is enough to be hurting when you touch the water.
We did
8 meters was enough to where.
canyoning in Austria.
Yeah.
And jumped off 60 meters. That
16?
was pretty.
Jesus Christ.
Pretty high. Yeah.
Imagine the length, because that's already so I would totally do it. But man, when your feet touch the water, you better.
You have shoes on though.
It hurts. Yeah, you have shoes on.
The water's super cold. Yeah, you have neoprene and
with
neoprene and helmet and whatnot.
So that hurts less then. Okay.
Yeah.
That's not fun then.
Anywho.
Yes.
I have a question. I'm not much for jumping off of things, but how do you time your breath?
I did not.
You do not think about
So that's
that.
what I'm saying. Like,
Who fucked up and got the nose, got the water through the brain?
Well, but I would jump off and hold my breath.
Yeah.
And then be falling for like 3 seconds, and then smash into the water and then panic. And then it might be however much time before I come up, and I don't know.
You just have to relax. I mean,
it wasn't that bad.
Just relax.
You're doing the
it's
next
not
one,
bad.
so you don't worry.
It's
it wasn't
not
that
that
bad.
I'll jump off that height, knowing that the bottom is sound, is safe.
Oh yeah, we didn't.
Yeah,
do
you'll be
that. No one
fine.
touched. No. Not even close. No. By the way, the water isn't that cold. It was very enjoyable.
We just need a ladder, or I need to be able to do muscle ups.
Yeah.
Out of the water.
Yes, that was the problem for me, was getting into the boat. I almost dislocated my shoulder twice. But,
I mean, next apprenticeship month we may have our own boat, so that'll be kind of cool.
that is true. Once you jump, honestly,
on it.
it's not bad. It was going over the rail because we were on the freeway, so it was not designed for us to go over. So it was kind of a weird setup to go over. But once you're there, once you look down, because the water is not clear, you actually you can't see the ground.
Yeah. No,
So it's not scary. Honestly, it wasn't. Yaya did it.
Yeah.
So fine. Yeah, I was a bit surprised.
Yeah.
But she actually jumped. Yeah, it was cool. It was a good month.
Yeah. So it was definitely like the rarest time to come for a month here. You basically got in as soon as you could, like as early as you could with the lockdown stuff to be in. So you still kind of had the apprenticeship month COVID version, which is, I don't know, I think kind of sweet. Probably limited your social activities a little bit.
Limited edition.
Yeah.
I think the Netherlands are way more liberal in those regards than Germany.
Yeah.
So if you enter a shop in Germany, you need to wear a mask.
Yeah.
Which is not a thing here.
Yeah.
So
you could still kind of do the things you wanted to do around here.
Well, restaurants were open, so we were good.
Restaurants
Yeah.
were open. Bars were open.
It was
Oh
good.
yeah, you were in on June 1st.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was day one. Nice.
Right, that's when the restaurant opened again. Yeah, it's like now I mean, let's be honest, everybody's outside now, so it's not like...
No.
Well, there's two ways to kind of process this going forward, right? After your month experience, and every time I've ever done a learning experience, you get done, and then there's like,
processing,
and then the issue is always integration.
Yeah.
Always. And anytime I've ever seen something work after that, after a big learning thing, it's that the foot has to stay on the gas, and those things have to be plugged in with a plan, some sort of structure, whatever it is going forward. You have to stay onto those things. I want to know how you plan on integrating kind of some of these lessons, both in yourself and maybe for your clients.
I think you don't really have time to relax afterwards. Otherwise, it just fades away, and you go into that spiral that you talked about. Yeah. So first thing is, for me, I want to keep the intensity high, and also take my time to experiment with things. Like there was, I think, an issue with me in the mentoring program, for example. You get a lot of knowledge, but if you think that you can apply it without actually putting yourself through it before, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Because, for example, the hamstring opener we did in assessment weekend. Yeah. I did that in the when was that coaches week and seminar that I did in 2017. Oh
yeah.
And I worked with that. But then when you go back and actually teach on that movement again, it appears to be totally different. So putting yourself through all that again and again, and all the concepts with the lactate and the training, I think is crucial, and coaches should do that. They should manage their schedule, so they have time not only to train hard but also to experiment. Yeah. And this is something I want to implement for sure.
Yeah.
Like that's a concept that goes for almost all jobs that people forget. They get so busy with, like putting out fires, basically dealing with today and stuff like that they don't take the time to train themselves for their job anymore. It's like once you acquire the job, you don't have to train for it ever again.
Right. So you have it. You get. It's a cush.
Yeah,
it's a cushion. You're there.
It's like Cubs. I mean, they go through 3 months of school, and then after that, they don't have to really train on their skill ever. Being on the street is enough. I was like, seriously doubt that. The army doesn't think so. They keep putting you, the good guys, and what special forces we knew, they had like new stuff to learn constantly. And you see that the
plus you're always practicing shooting too. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
There's upkeep, and then there's still progression.
Because otherwise you forget.
Yeah, and I think any line of work there is that. I think that gets lost a lot in coaching. Though.
Timing. It's like I sparred like a few months ago, and my timing was just off completely. I've done this shit for so long, you would think. Nope.
Yeah.
It goes away.
Yeah, maybe to white belt it doesn't look like it, but to me I was like, oh my God, I was late on everything. Yeah. Late or early, but just not at the right time. And that is just practice and practice and practice. But it affects you on everything. Like you start, if you don't train like that, you don't program the same. Because you forget what it's like.
Yeah, exactly.
If you train like that, you program 2 sled sprint. If you don't train, you program 3.
Yeah.
Because you're like, on paper, 3 is fine. You can do 3. No, it's because you're not doing it, dude. Otherwise, you realize that by the 3rd exercise, you're fucking done with that combo and stuff like that. So that's when I always see that programming that just keeps going up and up and up. That tells me the coach is not training anymore.
A lot of people post, if you know, you know. But then the knowledge versus information comes back in, and what they have is basically information and not the knowledge. Like they did not, or oftentimes did not put themselves through that.
And again, even if maybe you put the work, but that was a year ago. Yeah. Now it's a year later. It's not the same anymore. You forgot again. Yeah. You did. There's some stuff happening like on my left side this time, weirdly. I was like, really?
You're becoming more empathetic, coach.
I totally doubt that. But there's stuff where I'm like, really? Like I let that shit slide that far. And
no, but even doing the seminars, like we didn't do one for the whole thing, and we do one.
Oh my God, I was
This is the most tired I've ever been in a coach's week. Like I finished, and Friday I was like, I just don't, like I was drained.
Sunday night, I passed out at 8.
I was super tired.
So tired. And we hadn't done it in 4 months.
Yeah, and usually I have seminar coaches week, and I can keep going. Like I can, if I could, like back in the day, we'd do 3 in a row, and I'd be fine. Like I'd still have energy. And this time I was like, I just don't want people anymore.
Sunday night I was really tired.
That's an interesting observation, just on like how exhausting social interacting is after you've had the gap. Like you can see you can see the COVID thing though, like having everybody's socialization is a bit wound down. You don't have the normal. And then you get to seminar where just even being in a room with that many people, not being people, the two people speaking, but just a person in a room with 20 people, you were there, talking to that many people, catching up, making sure you're not rude, meeting the people, all of that stuff. By the time you're done, you're like, oh, motherfucker. I didn't have to teach them fucking anything. So I couldn't imagine having to sit up there.
And you could tell that they were shutting off by 11 o'clock in the first morning on Saturday. They were like, it was too much for them.
Yeah, like I spoke for not even that long, and I was like, all right, movement. Like I could tell,
we gotta move.
You know, like when you have the eyes starting to roll back and all the stuff. And it was very interesting to see on that one, because we had actually very few questions, even though it was a good group. When we have no questions, usually it's a shitty group. That one was a good group, but we had no questions. People do not have the capacity to learn right now, and that's directly because of the COVID stuff.
I agree.
They cannot learn right now. They were willing, so they could move. They could learn through the kinetic way. But listening and absorbing knowledge, they could not. It was fascinating to watch in a way. I was like, you guys are not ready. Yeah,
there's been a certain amount of external stimuli that's just removed over the course of your entire month, 2 months, 3 months. Like your overall stimulus that's outside of your home might be cut out in half.
And you get scared for 4 months straight. Trust me, the sympathetic side does something to learning. There's no question.
You're mad at either half your neighbors or half your friends.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, well, Chris, I want to touch on like maybe what in general as a physio. How StrongFit? How did you end up working with StrongFit? How do you end up doing any of this as a physio? Because Julien never has much good to say about physios outside of your generation.
Actually, that's
exactly.
True.
There's a new generation of physio that's
I've always said over 30. I'm not talking to you.
That's
under
coming
30,
to,
we can talk.
32.
Yeah, but I met you. You were 29. 29 when I met you. 3 years ago.
2016.
28. Yeah.
So how do you end up listening to these guys at all when they kind of try to bust physio balls?
So
from time to time,
I played.
He does.
What was that?
I said you do too, though.
Yeah.
I played handball for quite a while, and then I stopped playing handball and found CrossFit. So I basically entered the StrongFit.
Can I say one thing for our American audience? Handball is not the thing you hit with your hand. It's the ball that you throw.
It's not the red ball against the wall.
Exactly. That's not that. It's a ball that you throw. It looks like soccer, except you grab the ball and you throw it. See, even Tyler doesn't know. Look at his face. He has no fucking clue what we're talking about.
In the US, nobody knows.
Nobody knows handball.
Handball is something you play when you're like in primary school. It's a big red ball and you hit it against the wall and it bounces.
And then you hit with your hand.
Look it up on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
It's an Olympic sport, by the way.
So are many things.
many pretty random.
Probably that one too, by the way.
So I started CrossFit first, but there was something missing, I found, and you guys came to Drake's place, Reebok CrossFit Nürnberg.
Was that the first one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was 2016.
Yeah.
So I took the seminar.
On the first world tour?
Yeah.
The world tour.
The world tour.
Tour.
Yes, a t-shirt.
Was it European world tour? European
that
tour?
was the European tour.
European?
Yeah, and then afterwards we did world tour because we wanted to go to Australia.
That sounds about right. So the European tour.
And I took the seminar, and from there on I was basically hooked with that.
I don't even remember what I talked about. I have no clue.
Yesterday we talked about that there were no torque chains back then.
There was no torque, it was rotation.
Primal function.
That was
muscles.
my mistake, but it was rotation instead of torque. Like I would contradict myself on a bunch of stuff if I was at the seminar.
Yeah. But from there on I progressed with
coaches. But it made sense to you as a physio.
Absolutely.
In the beginning, you were like, fuck.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Yeah. We made this example on Sunday, I think, with the shoulder. Like, for example, if you go to a doctor because your right shoulder hurts, and he, the doctor or she, sends you to a physio. Then the physio is officially only allowed to work on the right side because it's
on the right shoulder. You mean not even
on the right side?
Shoulder,
on the right shoulder, because it's prescribed by the doctor. But what if the right shoulder is in pain because the left shoulder is not really working? So you downregulate the right shoulder, and making the problem worse, basically.
Yeah, making someone overall.
I always gave them that one. Yeah. Always did, because I knew the system. When I bitch about physios, but I bitch about the system more than I do about people, because obviously they're in it to help. We don't go into that profession to fuck up people, obviously. Yeah. But the system is absurd in that sense, where why not just create robots now and just make them do the shit, since you're not allowed to.
I mean, with the Terragun and all that stuff, it kind of happens.
That's where we're going.
Yeah.
It's like Holiday Inn. I stayed at Holiday Inn last night. Yeah. I mean, that's what the profession is becoming. So that's why I keep bitching.
It just made a lot of sense overall to me.
Yeah.
And I saw the results, of course.
Yeah.
So this was.
So I have to ask a question now. Difference between the first seminar and the last one, because you were there so early.
Oh yeah, that's.
You were there so early. You still remember the first one?
2016, you mean?
Yeah. Somewhat. Yeah. Okay, so 2016 to 2020.
On the seminar, we went through all the openers, for example. We went through all the openers. We went through.
We did.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
We did all openers. But now it's like,
and
why go through? If you guys don't understand the guidelines of the fundamentals of why we're doing the openers.
Because these people have started the openers in 2016, they still can't do them right.
Yeah.
So that's why we changed things a bit. But
and the whole influences from the neuroscience that came in, a lot of that, like physiology.
I don't remember what I didn't know by then.
Did these two get any smarter in the last 3 years, 4 years? Since the 22 seminars?
I would say so. Yeah.
All right.
I would say so.
All right, cool.
I think the first seminar has barely anything to do with the one we did here last weekend.
This most recent one was there was really good questions, really in-depth questions. There was the questions that we had were very much from a place of some sort of StrongFit point of reference. Which going into it before, most people had one podcast.
The difference of people at the seminar now compared to the early ones we had. When they had was 90% was CrossFit athletes mostly. Yeah. Like how do I get better? My shoulder hurts on the snatch. But the world.
We have people going. Are we going to do the strongman movements?
Right. We had that.
Can we go over yoke carries? You're like, this isn't a strongman fucking seminar.
Yeah. We had to explain that a lot of time. But the world of functional fitness was different 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And at the time there was assistance work. We couldn't really say it still because it was 2016. I mean, we were saying it, but you could see some of the CrossFitters were like, that looks like bicep curls.
Just say 3, 2, 1, go, and then do bicep curls.
Yeah. No, I was like, reverse,
and then you're fine.
Reverse hang power clean.
Yeah.
Supinated.
Yeah, supinated hang power clean. So there was, and then we were on the road. We started to see the issues also from, because as we did this, we saw more and more gym owners or coaches, and we started to see the struggle way more of those coaches, and that's when we started to go in that direction. We're like, we can give them the openers, but that might give you a little bit more business, but it's not 2 years, 4 years from now, you'll quit because you'll burn out. Because you're not chasing the right things. It's like, I understand having a business and money and everything, but chasing more clients at some points, it's at the expense of you getting better. Yeah. And so there was a pattern from the beginning that was very obvious.
Yeah.
And I think you see clearly when you ask, what are you guys here for? In the beginning of the seminar, where in like 2016, like you said, a lot of people were there because their shoulder was just fucked up.
Yeah.
And now we had a few guys saying, I want to dig more into that psychological side and emotional mapping and whatnot. So I think the motivation is a complete different one to go there.
The world has changed. The world of fitness has changed in 4 years. Like it's been crazy how much CrossFit has influenced functional fitness. It's a driver now. You can see it everywhere.
Well, but now like people's fitness interest, and maybe it is just us. Maybe we're in this space doing the thing,
in the bubble,
and maybe there's a bit of that. But I think at least the general impression of fitness is that your fitness is a little bit more than whether your shoulder hurts or not. you know. And I think taking all those things into consideration is something that at least you two tend to do quite better than most.
And I think also people understand that if your shoulder hurts, it might be also more than
just your shoulder.
Yeah, that is just the snatch that is wrong, like wrong technique on the snatch. Don't get me wrong, I'll fuck up your shoulder, but there might be a bit more stuff than that. I mean, how come the same stuff just keeps coming back? Things like that. I think people are starting to really get curious about it.
Yeah.
Not voodoo stuff, but at the same time, it might not be that simple. I mean,
No, I think it's the more you progress the craft of, you can call it coaching, working with somebody, like the more you're better able to understand like the anxiety stuff, like now being able to see exactly the behaviors that are going to happen, it's so much easier to coach them because I'm like, I know exactly what we want to run away to. And if you want to, then go do it. But then don't pay me. Like, I don't want, like, I feel bad taking your money because I know exactly when you're going to quit. Right. And so like now it's just so much easier. Like if you're not trying to continuously progress, like if we were still stuck in 2016 CrossFit, like I would be really sad.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that would be almost like you're just giving up on humanity at that point.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, and you start to see CrossFit is still this, it has its own bubble, but it's still such a small niche market compared to like Orange Theory or other things that are just blowing up that are still fucking up people just as much, by the way.
Or worse.
Yeah, and so you're starting to see this stuff as it starts to evolve. Like people are starting to see that something isn't right within the fitness industry, and I think that, you know, I don't want to say Coach and I were the first ones to start saying it, but like it starts to change the perspective of what fitness could be outside of doing the reps or the technique work or the skill work or, you know, losing the body fat percentage. Like there's so much more behind it, and you're starting to see a lot more of the psychological side starting to come up now.
And that coaches can be more than just that. Yeah, because it's basically they were rep counters for the longest time.
Right.
Well, but I also think, like we mentioned before, I think like we mentioned before that I think a real coach has to be more than that.
Yeah,
is more than that. A real coach is more than that. I think honestly, again, it's the look of the outside world onto ours makes a lot of coaches think they are less than they truly are. A real coach is way more than a rep counter, but because he's continuously seen at just that, some of them start to believe it.
Yeah.
No.
That, I should, and so they feel like poor man's physios. Like they're physio, but just below. I mean, so all they're there is to correct the snatch or stuff like that, when there's actually doing way more work than that, but they don't get the credit for it.
So at that point, do you think that it's more the coach's fault, which again would be more of a class manager, personal trainer? Because, so I've had some great conversations with coaches, and they see us at the seminar and interacting with us on the weekend, and they're like, I want people to call me coach like I call you coach. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, he's not asking you to call him coach, you just do. I'm like, well, yeah, because he's the one that pulls me in line, you know what I mean? And so it's also the responsibility of the person that wants to be a coach to put in the effort, that it's not about being called a coach because you have this $2 million facility and you offer 12 million different classes and you offer all this stuff, but you're being called coach because you're the one person that you made an actual connection to the human being, and there's so much more being provided than just getting stronger or pushing a sled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's a coach.
That's on them too, but I've seen, it's like, I grew up in the movie industry and everything, and I've seen actors getting crushed by the system where their soul is just, because there is unfortunately a political and financial side to even the acting industry and everything, and they get crushed by it. So I do agree that it's on the coach's side to want to get better. And if you don't get the answer, then go find them. But there's a part of me that feels for guys that feel that they put so much into it for people that seem to care less about themselves that the coach actually, that the coaches does. And I think some coaches, it's a lack of also confidence because they don't see validation from anybody.
Right.
Their parents, the world, the money, consideration from their own clients. They get no validation that they're on the right track. It can be rough. Yeah. And I mean, like, for example, like I got so much confidence out of the Barbell Shot podcast because, all the stuff I was saying, suddenly when I put it out there, he had a good response. But imagine if he was today and he had a terrible response. I would have just stayed in Toronto and say, well, I guess, man, maybe I'm just crazy, because there's always that doubt. Everybody has I mean, like,
for sure.
especially with all the shit that I come up with, like, there's always a part of me that goes like, am I completely off the rail on that one? Or so far, no. But so there's a part of me that feels for them in that sense that it's a rough job.
Yeah.
That being said, I do think you're right. At the end, though, it comes down to you to just work for it.
Right.
Harder.
Yeah.
But for the right reasons. Exactly. I think the biggest where I get pissed, and I'll put it on the coach, is wanting your gym, your facility to look shinier instead of your coaching to do the talk. Mm-hmm. Like they want their gym to do the talking. They want, what do you see on coaches that don't spend the time on themselves? First thing they do is make the gym shinier and buy new equipment. Yep. Because it becomes an objective-based mentality where winning means the gym looks better. Right. More equipment, shinier, stuff like that. Instead of, no. Your gym being better means your coaching is better. Right. That's where they're putting the energy wrong, and that one is on the coach.
Well, and I think where you put your energy matters, and I think one of the things Chris has done with this process is put a lot of fucking money, a lot of time, and a really uncomfortable amount of effort. I don't think the average person quite understands what it is to just hand yourself over for a fucking month.
Right,
you know what I mean?
That's doing it alone.
That's boot camp.
Right, it is. Yeah, but doing it alone puts you on the right mindset. Yes, and the mindset is everything. I think. Yeah. It's like, when people say like, I want this, I want that, just look at their bank account, it tells you what their priority are. Mm-hmm. That's a little bit that. Just the fact of doing it alone puts you already on a mindset where you go, okay, I'm spending that much money and energy toward bettering myself. Not my gym, not the business, me. Yeah. And then I think the rest follows from there. So to go back to Rich Poach, what I would say is like they don't spend enough time on themselves, mm-hmm. Energy, money, whatever, on themselves. Yeah. It's like, let me make the gym better. No. You better, not the gym.
Well, and those things maybe don't always start as laziness or poor priorities. It might start as, I do my work. I work for the people. I do the work for the people. And then you don't work on yourself and on your learning, on your work ethic, on your training, on all of it. And then you start turning to those other things because they're easier. All right, we need more equipment.
I've seen a lot of people taking this as a business first. Or maybe lately, or maybe just me. No, but I don't know, the more I look, I don't like that. Like whenever you go into a field that is about helping people for money, I'm sorry, it's like going into acting for money. Yeah. Like that, coming from my family, that would make no sense.
I think that you see it in every industry though, right? Like
yes.
There's a point where the ego wants to take over and you want to build a certain thing. Yeah. And then at some point, those that were truly in the industry of whatever you choose to be in to do what you love to do, you will still go back to that, and you will, even though you're trying to build this great thing, your ego will, yourself will always come back to better the craft. Yeah. You see that with chefs where they're like, fuck it, I'm gonna go in the middle of nowhere in this tiny village, and if you wanna come eat here, fly here. Yeah. And people will fly there, and it's still booked. Even though they had to go to the 5-star restaurants and go through all this stuff, like, you look at it, you go through your CrossFit level 1, and then you get your level 2, level 3, you get your ACE, your NASM, your physiotherapy license. All this stuff is tools for you to use, but if you've never actually understand fully how to apply them, you're just setting out protocols. Like it's simplistic. It's
Dave Chappelle, like when he quit his show, the Dave Chappelle show, he ended up doing some comics in parks. Mm-hmm. He would just show up with his microphone, stand on it, and do basically an hour improvisation for the people there.
That could not be good for the kids in the park.
That's probably a few. Yeah,
depends on the bit.
But imagine like a guy of that caliber at the time doing something like that.
Well, here's the fact: is that like Dave Chappelle doesn't own a fucking comedy club. Yeah, and that's where I always get to with coaching. It's the business. Like, why do you own a fucking business if coaching is what's in your heart? That's really is the dilemma that I always draw to. Is like, man, you could coach for somebody, you could give all of that and make sure that somebody else is worrying about the lights and the marketing and the shit that you don't know fuck all about. Like, I feel like that's very, people can do both, but Jesus Christ, you got to be pretty fucking good at one to do the other on autopilot.
I think
you know what I mean?
I think it's ego in most cases. When people are like, I want to open a gym, why?
Yeah.
Because trust me, we all had one. He ain't sunshine and rainbows all the time. Yeah. Like we all think we do, but no, we don't.
Yeah.
If I had one advice to myself, like in my 20s, I would be, dude, get an L1 in CrossFit and spend 1 year in a different country for the next 7 to 8 years. At 26, you have till 35, you have 9 years. One country every year. Yeah. Learn different cultures, learn to coach people that in a different language, that don't move the same, different background, that don't react the same, that get pissed differently, and learn about even yourself or stuff like that. That's if you want to be truly a good coach, like you should leave your fucking place for a year and go coach somewhere or do stuff like that, or spend a month somewhere. Like you're gonna have to challenge yourself in one way or another.
Because your business of your gym is not your craft. No. Your coaching is your craft, and I think that's important to.
Well, because the gym can close. So, like with this COVID thing, like the gym's closed. Sorry, I'm not supposed to say it, but the gym's closed down. And now what? So you build this beautiful thing that now you owe more money to than you thought you needed to. Yeah. And I think you quickly got to see how strong your community or your coaching was based on these people that stuck around.
How fast were people at leaving your gym? That'll tell you a lot about your coaching.
And so, you know what I mean? Like, I think all of that like starts to play a role in how good are you? Yeah. Like, even if you look at great CEOs, they'll leave and they don't give a shit because they're like, hey, I'll go build something with give me 2 cents and I'll build something magnificent. Yeah. And so as a coach, you're like, okay, so now you don't have a gym, you don't have this, you don't have that. Now what are you going to do? And they're like, well, I don't know. Yes. Yeah, okay. So then if, like for me, if I stop working with StrongFit, I'll be like, all right, cool, I'll start a park boot camp. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
plus you could go to Australia and
go something,
there. You could go to Dubai, you could go. That's the thing places. Too. If StrongFit fails tomorrow for whatever reason, we'd be like, fuck it, let's choose a country, let's rebuild over there. Yeah. We could go to Australia right now, we can rebuild StrongFit in Australia, in Sydney or anywhere.
I like New Zealand better, but we could do
New Zealand.
Well, if someone wants to fund that transition, $5 million up front, we won't pay it back, but you can get us there.
We're talking Brazil last night.
We're talking about Brazil last night, but we could literally, like even if we stop everything today, we go to Brazil, I bet you 6 months from now, we have a place I'll do the whole stuff in Portuguese. We'll rebuild because no matter where we are, StrongFit is.
The knowledge, the application can never be taken away, nor can the passion. Yes. So like that's what I think of the big thing that Chris took out of it, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it was you're now a better person to understand that whatever you want to do, you can do it. Yeah. You just need to act on it. There's
just the work. Yeah.
There's nothing but your own excuses getting in the way of what you want to do.
Yeah.
Well, Chris, you're a real one. Thanks for spending the month with us. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
Got any? I always have to give the opportunity. Do you have anything you need to plug? Send people to your business, Instagram, anything like that you need?
Not really, no.
Fucking guy.
Build your Instagram.
Say hi to your mom. I don't know.
Thank you to your girlfriend for letting you be in the red light district for a month and trusting you.
In the red light district. That's a huge one, yeah. Instagram, vinho.chris. That's it.
vinho.chris.
Exactly. That's it.
So keep an eye on him there. Everybody else, you can get everything at strongfit.com, strongfitequipment.com, or .eu. All the programs are on the .com. Julien's template, one-on-one stuff. 6-week online course. StrongFit 1 on Instagram. Rare Barracuda on Instagram. Tyler F. and Stone.
So quiero dizer que Brasil estamos chegando.
There we go. Beautiful.
I don't know. Did I approve that message? Was that?
No, what he said. I don't even know.
All right. Peace, guys.
Cool.